We're going to talk, if I can find my notes, a bit about sort of gamification, interactivity, engagement, that kind of thing. Basically, the alternative to the lean back and watch experience that we're all very familiar with. So, viewing and consumption of live sports and how it's evolving into potentially a more interactive experience. So, joining me are, on the far side, Anders Raden-Rygaard. Apologies if that pronunciation isn't very good. He's the head of commercial for the Danish Football League. He oversees commercial strategies for the top 4 Danish professional football leagues and the Danish Cup tournament. Alan is head of business development at ATP Media, the broadcast, production and commercial arm of the ATP Tour. Thank you both for joining me today. We're going to start with Alan, if that's okay. Before we start looking specifically at what you're doing, I want to put this into some sort of context if we can. So you're sort of adding interactive experiences across all of ATP Media's broadcast and streaming distribution worldwide. Excuse me, what's the background to this? Why are you trying to do this?
So I think quite a few people today have touched on these themes around trying to reach new audiences. We've been able, I think it's fair to say, we for a long time have super served the core tennis fan, and we do that very, very well via our broadcast distribution. So that's with our broadcast partners or via our OTT, direct-to-consumer tennis TV service. We also do it quite nicely across social and short form. But we're mindful of the challenge to go and find a more potentially casual audience, probably younger, probably Gen Z and maybe future-proofing Gen Alpha as well. But we want to do this in a way that complements the broadcast and enhances it as well. We don't want to alienate our core fans, but at the same time we want to innovate and bring something new to them as well. So it's born out of that requirement. We also To Melissa's point earlier, also we own the data. We have set up TDI, which is our sister company. So we have access to all of this data, which includes ball and player tracking data. We want to leverage that. We want to try and bring that to life across all screens. So that's probably the main driver. And if we can. And actually, we want to do this in partnership with our broadcasters and give them a little bit more value and give them more ability to recoup their investment in the rights.
Thank you. With all that in mind, could we see a short video, please?
We're thrilled to announce an exciting new long-term strategic partnership with Play Anywhere. This collaboration brings fans an enhanced viewing experience across web, mobile, tablet, and TV platforms. Coming soon to ATP Media's broadcast partners and Tennis TV, fans will enjoy an interactive viewing experience featuring live stats, gamification, and e-commerce options for merchandise, food, and ticketing, allowing them to engage in the way they want. It also opens new opportunities for rights holders to deliver a dynamic fan experience, while enabling brands to connect with key match moments, generating new revenue streams for all stakeholders. Play Anywhere's platform has already proven itself with successful implementations at this summer's Paris Olympics and its second season with La Liga. We're excited to be bringing this innovation to tennis fans.
So talk us through, Alan, sort of what you're going to offer.
So what we want to do, and as I mentioned, we want to offer this to broadcast partners for their platforms, but we also have the ability to showcase it and perhaps trial it across our Tennis TV OTT service. We want to give the fan the ability to interact with the content. So that can be via a range of live stats. It can be across other sort of engagement experiences, polls, quizzes. We can have in-match replays that are delivered via our WSC partnership, timelines, and essentially a way of complementing, enhancing that live experience without necessarily taking them away from the main screen. So as you can see with these screen grabs, you've got some that are on the main screen. They may be L-frames, they may be triggered overlays, but we also have a second screen option, but always designed to complement that main screen experience.
Who's deploying it for you, and how does it fit into your wider ATP media infrastructure?
So as I mentioned before, we're mindful of that, the way we've been presenting content via broadcast, and the guys do that fantastically well. So we wanted to find a solution that doesn't impact that. So this is done further downstream.
Yep.
So this is with a company called Play Anywhere, who use Ease Live, the technical partner, to deliver this experience. So this will be deployed, as I say, on top of the broadcast feed as a software solution. So it's platform agnostic. Mm-hmm. It's designed to be as low lift as possible for the broadcasters and my Tennis TV team. And as you can see there, to the right-hand side of those iPhone images, it's a fairly non-intrusive menu that the fan has to interact with. It's not going to be taken over the court. It's very much triggered and initiated by the fan. And as I say, Ease Live have come up with a nice solution that delivers that, we think.
What resources do you have to call upon internally to make this work?
So we have the relationship the partnership we've entered into with Ease Live. They are the technical provider. They have expertise to bring this to life across all devices, including smart TV. But internally, we have the Tennis TV team that want to sort of design what's going to work for the Tennis TV audience. In terms of other resources for the broadcasters, they will need to be able to onboard and integrate. But I think one of the nice pieces of this is that they can pick and choose what interactivity they want. So it can be tailored to each broadcaster. So we will be asking broadcasters to throw some resource at it to make those decisions that fit for them.
Mm-hmm. How did you get to this stage? How long did it take you to get to where you are now?
It's taken a while. It's probably a year or so in the making. We approached a number of technical suppliers that could do a similar thing to Ease Live. We like what Ease Live have done with La Liga so far. And also their activation for the Paris Olympics and a bunch of other partners they've worked with. I think there's a few challenges to come around how we minimise the impact of the main screen, how we protect our existing sponsors, and also how we sell this into the broadcast partners as an additive experience and also a new revenue stream as well. I think that's key. So there's quite a lot to come. The Tennis TV team will. This is a bit of it's a bit of a playground for them in that they can trial this and test this kind of stuff fairly easily. And they've already come up with a bunch of new ideas that we can roll out as the sort of season goes on next year.
Without getting too existential with all this, what are the benefits for the audience you're trying to attract? What are you hoping they'll get from this experience?
So I think that it is engagement. We think it will all depend on the amount of experiences and the type of experience we onboard. We'll probably launch fairly soft with some data integrations that will give them a live understanding of why a player is winning. There's only so much we can fit onto the broadcast feed, and they do a great job of doing that. But things like augmented reality, graphics, interactive graphics are better suited to this sort of overlay environment. So we think that engagement and I think that opportunity to really tell the story in a slightly different way is going to benefit that slightly different fan.
And on the flip side, what's the benefits to ATP or ATP media? Data, revenues, you mentioned that, revenue streams, and how will you measure that benefit? So
I think one of the main benefits is understanding the fan. The beauty of the Play Anywhere and Ease Live platform is it's also a compliance platform. It can monitor the usage. It will know who is interacting, what part of that interactivity are they using. Is it just the stats? Is it the in-play replays? It would also allocate the revenues accordingly to us, to the broadcaster, to any other partners that we work with. So very much data-driven, and our understanding of the fan that we often find challenging. We feel like this is a new way of achieving that.
Excellent. Before I bring Anders in, at what stage are you at with this at the minute, Alan? Where are you? Was it ready to launch? Are you going live?
We're looking to target the new season, so January.
Yep.
The events in Australia in January will be our sort of soft launch, and then a harder launch for the Indian Wells Masters tournament in March. First of all on Tennis TV, but depending on how conversations go with broadcast partners, we're looking to onboard them at the same time or soon after.
Excellent, thank you very much. Anders, thank you for waiting patiently for your turn. No problem. The Danish Super Cup, which was this year, so as fans watching on Viaplay were able to view a game in manager mode, which is a map of player movements, player names and key statistics, etc., which we'll show in a second. But before we do that, what was the background to adopting this particular experience?
Well, I first came around the manager mode when I was at the MIT convention in Boston 2 or 3 years ago, and I found it extremely interesting. I mean, if you watch especially the US sports like NFL, NSL, NBA in particular, they have a lot of insights live on screen during the match. We are way behind in football on that one. We are very traditional. We watch the games as we've been doing for many, many years, but a lot of people up here today have been talking about Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and they are going to be tomorrow's football fans. So, and they're going to demand this. So we're going to have to make this possible for them to get these insights. And I thought that it was a good time to test it now. We did this as a test. And how to see how the crowd would react to it. And it was important to do it in a high-profile match, which is why we choose the Danish Cup final. It doesn't get much bigger than that, so yeah.
Excellent. Let's have a look at the manager mode in action, please.
En dårlig aflevering. Det kan Emil Madsen ikke nå. Jon Felix op mod Alexander Lind. Silkeborgs 9'er. Hård tackling fra Nikolaj Poulsen på Thordarson. Ude. Fint. Sådan! Og der er offsides. Det er faktisk meget godt stjålet af links. Links! Med et vidunderligt drøn. Hvis målet så blev trukket tilbage. Kaller Markauert har et godt langskud i sig. Markauert! Stangen! Adamsen samler op!
Hold da op!
Med ørerne.
Sikke et skud! Hold da op!
Very reminiscent of a certain video game. Talk us through what we saw there. What are you showing? What sort of information is the viewer getting?
Yeah, I have to start to say this was the small package when you go with the manager mode. Yep. We only had 3 things. We had the shot speed, we have the player names, and then we have the minimap at the bottom of the screen. But in the longer run, you can actually put in all kinds of insights. XG, ball position, faster sprint, whatever you can put in. But this is the one we tried now. What it really offers is just as Alan is talking about, this is for fan engagement. We have the data, and it's much more interesting to get them while the game is on instead of afterwards. So that's actually what we try to give them here. And you can say, okay, shot speed, is it need to have? No, it's not. But it's a fun fact when you look at the game. Player names need to have? No, but it helps a lot of the viewers who don't know all the players. And then when you have the minimap, it gets interesting because that's actually when you get a little bit deeper into the tactics, because you can at all times see how is the team standing when they defend. How are they moving when they attack? And that hopefully will give a lot of more nuanced discussions at home when you talk about the teams and how they do.
And I think, but I think also for it to be personalised as well, so to give that viewer the option, right, I do want the players' names or I don't. I want the player map, I don't. To make that sort of interactivity optional and tailor-made is a key addition, I think.
There's no doubt that in the future this will be optional, both whether we will have it with the insights or not, but also if you go with the insights, what insights do you want? Do you want the full package? Do you just want some of it? And even longer ahead, I believe you can customize it as well. You can get it in your club colors. You can get it, whatever you want.
How was it deployed, that particular example? Whereabouts in the infrastructure of either the Danish Football League or Viaplay did it fit? Because Alan said it was upstream as far as his stuff was concerned. Where was this in the infrastructure? In the
well,
workflow?
we made this deal with a company called FutureSPORT. FutureSPORT owns Second Spectrum, and we have a data deal with Second Spectrum. They have actually a lot of cameras in all the stadiums in the Danish Super League. So we had all the data up front. They provide us and the clubs with fitness data from the players. So it was a little bit easier for us already having the data, making the deal with FutureSPORT. Then we have to decide what skin to make. I would have loved to have the limousine model with the L-bar and everything, but it was a test. That skin wasn't ready, and it was also a financial issue. But we made it with them, and then we called Viaplay, who have been a broadcaster for us for the last 25 years, and said, now we have the chance to try this. Are you ready to do it? So they made 2 streams of the final, the normal one and then this optional one.
What testing was done before you went to that stage? Because I'm assuming that Viaplay, like most broadcasters that we discussed already, are fairly conservative.
They were, and actually they were not, but they were concerned about how would it work on the day. Yeah. So we tested it at 2 matches prior to the final. We tested it at one of the semifinals, and again we have cameras at all the Superliga stadiums. So the Superliga match at that stadium, the week before the final, we tested on that one as well, and that all went fine. So we said, okay, we go with it.
What was the response? Do you have any indication of both internally, so that's Viaplay and the Danish Football League, but also externally from the viewers? Have you got any sense of what the response was to it?
Viaplay actually was very fond of it. 20% of the people viewing the match at Viaplay choose the one with the manager mode. And I think that's fairly successful for a test. We haven't done it before, and Viaplay wasn't even the main broadcaster of the final. That was Denmark's Radio, which is a non-commercial. So taking that into consideration, I think it was quite a success.
Will we see it again? And if we will see it again, will it be? You mentioned the limousine or the fast car version of it. Will it be? How can it be developed further?
You will definitely see it again.
Yeah.
Actually, we are negotiating with FutureSPORT right now for the upcoming season, 25-26, maybe even before that. It will not only be on the big matches. I think if we can make a deal, we will provide it for the broadcasters, and it might be 1 or 2 matches a week, in the beginning, and it will be optional for the viewers. But it is definitely here to stay in football as well. And yes, you can develop a lot into it because we have the data, very much more data than those 3 things we had here. So there's a lot of opportunities in this.
Can it be commercialized?
It can. I mean, maybe you didn't see it, but just over the top bar, there's a space. So every time you have a shot at target, you can have a sponsor in there. When you look further on, you can have sponsors on the names. You can have sponsors for the tackle, if you win a duel or the fastest sprint or whatever. So there's a lot of opportunities to put commercials into this. But again, you have to do it with respect of the game.
Yep.
So there is a lot of ethics in how you're going to do this, and it's also important that you are true to the game. You have to have respect for the game and for the players, so it doesn't get too cartoonish or just weird.
So we looked at both of those 2 specific examples. Let's look a bit more broadly about this, on this subject. So to both of you, but we'll start with Alan. Based on what you'd learned so far from your ATP Media and ATP Tour interactive journey that you're going on, everyone goes on a journey these days, this journey you're going on, what do you think's going to work? What's your sense? What are your gut feelings that which bits are going to work? Which is going to really engage that my son or somebody else's 14-year-old son when it comes to this gamification element. It doesn't have to be specifically to do with tennis. What is the key to making it successful?
I think we're still on that journey of understanding what is the most appropriate for our content. The first rollout will be using our data, and that will complement that sort of live experience. I think the other piece that will roll out straight away will be the in-match replays, the timeline. Yeah. So the sort of stuff you're seeing in football at the moment in the UK. I think where it can get really interesting is where you can bring in and leverage things like community, sort of membership, that kind of interactivity, and then you're in a position of really creating a club environment and an experience that is going to be used over and over. So it's we're mindful of getting the balance right between not bombarding the viewer with a brand new experience, but also at the same time it needs to be engaging enough for them to come back a second time. So we're being very careful about how we stagger this rollout, and we want to learn from each interactive piece before we really sort of go full on it. As I mentioned, we do have Tennis TV as that window or that sort of playground for this kind of stuff, and we know that our broadcast partners will want to understand some learnings from that before going for it.
That's the test bed, is it really? So
it is, it is. Yeah. It's a good test bed. To some extent, it's limited because they're very much super fans that are subscribing to Tennis TV. They're watching a lot of content. Whereas obviously we're trying to attract maybe a more casual fan. So to some extent it's a good test bed, but we know we need to look at other research options as well.
And also, if I can just add to that, I mean, I think it's basically important that when you do it, it has to be an add-on to the game you're watching, because you can do a lot of stuff, but if it's not an add-on or have some kind of educational fun or just helpful, then don't do it. I think that's worth thinking about.
Yeah, and I think it's also with the Sale GP, it is fundamental to have these enhanced graphics, and that is just to take the viewer on that journey. We've had years of not needing to do that. This isn't an absolute requirement, but this is about finding something as Anna said, it's about finding something that enhances and complements.
Is there any? Is there a danger it could backfire? Is there a way this could go wrong? Is there an element of this which none of these things? Can none of these things work? I mean, is it possible that actually you're going to spend loads of money and actually we won't learn anything from it? Is this definitely the way? I guess what I'm saying is this definitely the way forward? What do you think?
I feel like it. If we do launch it in the right way, where it is sort of triggered by the user, it isn't thrown in their face as an absolute, you have to interact with this. If it is optional and it does complement, all of the research we've done so far is telling us that this is what the fans want, especially that different kind of younger audience. But as with everything, there are risks, of course.
And how do you measure it? I think that's Anders. How will you measure the success of what you're doing?
So, platform-wise, the guys we partner with at Play Anywhere and Ease Live can measure all this. So we will understand exactly who's used it for how long, the dwell time, and we'll see an impact on viewing. So it will be measured at that granular level for sure.
Thank you. Anders, what other things could the Danish Football League, in conjunction with its rights holders or whatever, do, either within management or other experiences? How else could you enhance football for you?
Yeah, I would start to say this is definitely the way forward, and we will only see it more. I mean, again, back to the sports in the US, we can learn a lot from that, and we have the data, and we have to use it, and we have to use the insights. But as you're talking about, Alan, it's really important to make it optional. I don't think it can go wrong in that sense. I mean, it is insights, and people love the insights. I mean, 2 years ago, nobody was talking about XG in football. People didn't even know what it was. And now everybody's sitting, talking to their friends. Did you see the XG last night? Being sort of a home trainer for the teams. So the more we can add on to that feeling in the fan engagement that, well, I actually know a lot about this sport. That is definitely the way.
Yeah, I think it could be a good platform for creating that new currency. So the XG is the perfect example, but we're launching a bunch of insights around tennis, around shot conversion, still rate, that can, as live in a live environment, tell you the story of why they're winning, not just who's winning. So I think it lends itself well to that new currency of analysis.
To finish up, if there's somebody out there in the audience or beyond watching on video, on demand later, who is thinking of doing something similar with their broadcast, whether it's OTT, whether it's for rights holders or whether it's direct to fan, what advice would you give them? Let's start with Anders first, please.
Well, I would definitely say try it and test it. And I mean, whatever sport it is, in the beginning, have two versions. Have the normal one. So I mean, for the traditional viewer, and then try out with the some whatever insights that you have. It also depends on what company are you working with, how easy is it, the finance and all that. But definitely try it, because this is here to stay, and we cannot be blind for this is the way to go. So definitely try it and learn from it, evaluate, and then maybe an A and B test. But you have to get in there, because otherwise the sports that you might compete with, they will do it. And I mean, again, back to Gene Alpha, they have maybe 3, 4, 5 sports they're interested in. So if you don't do it, they just go with one of the other sports.
Thank you. Alan?
I think it's important to tie it to a business model as well, like everything is. I had to go on a journey internally to sell this in. I had to sort of make it clear that this is going to benefit the whole ecosystem, the whole rights ecosystem. So as you may have seen on the promo, there is ad space there. We know, or we've been told, that the CPMs for that premium ad space, where a brand can tie itself to a particular insight, we know those are high and they're premium. So to sort of sell that sort of business model in, the fact that can actually benefit us internally, but also our broadcast partners who maybe want more inventory for their program sponsor, for example. I think it's about that. And it's a lot of the last year has been bringing my teams in on the journey, whether that's production or the sort of senior management side of things, because it is new and it is different. But as Anders said, as long as it's an enhancement and it's flexible, then we feel confident.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Really interesting. Really appreciated you giving up your time and telling us your stories. Please join me in thanking Anders and Alan for their time. Thanks, guys.